Okay, guys, I think we'll be in Romans. Romans. I don't think we've ever read it. I think we've only read sections of it. So, I want to give a little background on this before we read it, and there's not much. It's a lot like the Galatians that we just read. It matters that you know who Paul is speaking to, or you would misunderstand this book a lot. The historical context is super important. If you ever hear Christians that just so disagree with things you hold pretty much basically true, a lot of times it'll come down to a system or a group of people that has decided historical context doesn't matter. So you take your 20th century mind, you read this scripture, and you say, what does that mean to the 20th century mind? And you can really misunderstand a lot if you don't know what was going on. So but it's the same as the gospel we just read. You know, Paul is he's a rabbi. He's a Jewish rabbi, but he's also trained in philosophy, Greek philosophy. So he's a uniquely positioned person to try. Here's his plan in Rome. The temple in Jerusalem is going to fall. Remember, Jesus said, kind of predicted the temple was going to fall. Like within 50 years after Jesus' death, the entire, maybe 70 years, the temple in Jerusalem was destroyed. It was sacked by the Romans. They tore the Jewish temple down. They don't have a temple to this day. So, and that kind of created a change in the Jewish religion because you couldn't really practice, the whole ritual and animal sacrifice and all that ended then because there was no temple to do it in. And then they were dispersed and they had no lands. And so Jerusalem is no longer going to be the center of Christianity. And so Paul is thinking to himself, well, Rome is the center of the world, the world they knew. And so if we could convert Rome to Christianity, we would have a solid foundation on which to build. So, and he's uniquely suited to do this because in Rome he's going to find some Jews, he's going to find, pagan Romans, and he can speak to both of those groups because he's been trained in both of their religious philosophy. So he's just uniquely positioned. So that's his plan. Make sure I just didn't skip something to tell you. That's really it. And he's also going to find Judaizers. So those are the three groups. We're not worried about Gnostics in this gospel much. He's not speaking against Gnosticism very much. He's speaking against Jews who don't accept Jesus as the Savior. And then he's trying to speak to Judaizers who have absolutely accepted Jesus, but they either think it's not for anyone but Jews, and we shouldn't bring anyone in, or they think you can come in, but first you got to be Jewish before you come in. Or they think you don't have to be Jewish, but there's a bunch of Jewish things you have to follow to be in. And so, so Paul's dealing with that. And so this is his movement. This is considered his greatest work and one of the greatest works in all of Christian literature. And I don't know if you guys know, whether or not Paul wrote certain books is in question. They're always going back and forth and debating all of this. Could have been one of his disciples. But Romans, there's no doubt. There's unanimous agreement everywhere that Paul wrote this. So that's just interesting to know. Okay, and then I don't know if I have a lot to say tonight about any of it. We'll read a couple chapters. One more thing I want to say. This is a tough one to get into because I like to read a little bit and then be done. And I guess we'll follow that formula, but Romans is not recommended to be read that way. You can read a little bit at a time, but Paul's a very complex person. He's a complex writer, and you can very often have the wrong impression of what he means if you only read a little. So it can be messy that way. You almost have to read the whole thing a couple times to have any idea what he's really saying. It's just something to consider. I don't want to read like 3 chapters. I don't like that. But if you take this home and read it, just kind of think, well, I don't know what he means there. Let me read the rest. And all of Christian theology is covered really in this letter to the Romans. It's great. And it's I'm in a stage right now, I'm in a certain stage of spirituality. I just dropped into it about 3 hours ago. I've been in a very difficult position for a few days. I went up into bliss for so long, and when it ended, I didn't fall into humility. I don't know why, but I didn't. I fell somewhere. I don't know where I fell. It wasn't bad, but it was somewhere I've never been. And I've had trouble finding my roots. And I've been a little skittish and just like kind of funky, and then there's been some purification going on. Only a couple hours ago did I kind of drop down into a good place. So that made it harder for me to prepare a thing. And then also, the place I'm in, I want to talk about it. Maybe I'll just talk about it now and then we'll read. Here's what I wanted to say tonight is, Father Carley is the priest that trained me in theology, and not the monk, the priest. And every once in a while, and you've heard me say this, but every once in a while he would say that every once in a while he'd like to burn it all down and have us start over. And, Daniel and I were talking the other day, and he just read a book, St. Patrick, right? St. Patrick. And one of the things Daniel said is that St. Patrick seemed more on fire before the church got a hold of him. He had that innocent fire, and then he got theologized. And I think that's where Father Carley was coming from when he would say, sometimes I wish we could just burn it all down and start over. Even though he would also at other times say, it's so beautiful, I can't believe it. So complex, right? Complex. And I'm in a place where I get here every so often where, and usually I drop down into a deep humility when I come to this stage, where I kind of do want to burn it all down. I think, I get it. This is all so beautiful. 2 weeks from now, my mind is going to be blown by it. But right now, I think, I just don't need any of it. All I need is, sometimes, you got to put it all away. All the words about it, away, all the way away. And just think, what is actually happening? What is happening here? Right? What is happening between myself and God? What's actually going on? If I throw all the language out and the theology out and the words about it out, just what's actually happening? And for me, if I don't reset that way, I'll probably become like St. Patrick, where the system is your love. I think it becomes idolatry. This is, I think if I said this in certain Christian circles, they'd walk out of the room. Because the book is so holy that it almost is God to them. And I have a deep reverence for the scriptures. I'm not changing my mind. Don't worry. There's nothing changing. But every once in a while you have to step back from all of it and say, okay, that's the words about it. Thank you. But what's happening here? What is actually going on? What do I actually have here? And is my love directed towards God or system? Because it really needs to be directed towards God, because the thing about system is, the system is pointing towards God, and it's a really good map it's really pointing accurately how to get there. But if you don't go, you've fallen in love with the sign instead of the thing it's meant to sign about, the thing it's meant to signify. And that's the place I'm in, just in the moment I dropped in a couple hours ago. That's where I'm at. That's where I want to be. That's where the Holy Spirit has me. Not the best time to start this, which is, it's okay, next week it'll be different, but this is the most thorough description of Christianity in the New Testament. It covers every topic. So it'll be wonderful for us to read. We'll read a little bit, and then I want to read a couple sections from the Tao and see if you can find... I read the Tao when I was 19. There used to be a cool vegan restaurant, and they had a Tao on every table, over by 9th and 9th. And I just thought, what gibberish? I'm a spiritual guy. How come I can't understand this? And I just thought, it must be great, it's the Tao and all that, but I just thought, I don't get it. And then I didn't touch it for 20 years. But I walked the path for 20 years. And by then I even had Jesus. And when I picked up the Tao at that point, I understand almost every passage I understood. I could see it taking place in my life. No study, no reading, because it had been happening. And then I could see that while we may disagree profoundly on the nature of God with Taoism, we disagree on the nature of enlightenment. Certainly their saints would not recognize Christian saints as saints. There are really real disagreements there, but there are so many similarities. And so I thought I'd read a few passages from the Tao that I think relate to, the Beatitudes are our best map into union with God. If you're wondering what's the best map, if God is doing something in your soul, it's going to be one of the Beatitudes. That's just the way it is. They're not things to practice. It's like not nice ideas. The Beatitudes are the summation of the entire Christian ascent to union with God. That's what they are. And, no one who understands the Beatitudes would say, I have them. Right? You don't have them. Maybe once in a while they have you. They're stages of spirituality that one walks through that might take 17 years to get through one of them, depending. They're deep and profound, they have deep meaning. So if you remember the first three Beatitudes, blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed are the poor in spirit. And if you remember Christianity's theology around that Beatitude, coming from some of the great saints of the Christian tradition, you'll know that part of that means to become like a blind beggar. That the worst thing you can do is know the way. The worst thing that could happen to you is you could know the way. I know what to do now. That kills poverty of spirit. Poverty of spirit is found in knowing that you do not know the way. And you do not have the way. And that has to do with wanting to burn all the literature down now and then. You don't really want to do it. But in your own heart and mind, you burn it down because now you know. Right? And what you know isn't what it is. It only points to it. So, blessed are the poor in spirit is blind, beggar. I have nothing in me that can make me successful in this journey. And nothing I've read can illuminate the way. I don't know the way. That's poverty of spirit. I don't know the way. And if someone can be on the path a long time and still have that, they have something good. That's something good. And the second beatitude, blessed are those who mourn. Blessed are those who mourn. And when I used to be in 12-step programs, you would hear people say a lot, I'm 15 years sober, I shouldn't feel like this. Been on the path 10 years, I shouldn't be having this happen. But wouldn't it be a tragedy to lose that? It would mean you effectively wouldn't go any further. And in my experience, it would require even bolstering and an arrogance in what I found to not want to go back down into mourning. being sorry for who I am and what I am and what I do. And you don't want to do that when you're bolstering what you have. And the third beatitude, which I think is sort of like the summation of the first two, sort of the result of the first two. Blessed are the meek. And from the Christian traditions, this is just all my language, but I've read it thoroughly. The Christian traditions' understanding of meekness is you don't want to do your will anymore. You don't want to. You might do it, because you never know. You have poverty of spirit, you never know for sure. Look at how off base it puts you in a way. Look at how it allows you no purchase in your ego or your intellect or your intuition. Look at how it allows you to trust in nothing within yourself. It undoes all of that. The meek never want to do anything but God's will. They may not know what that is, but they're done wanting otherwise. And they're convinced of that because they've had poverty of spirit and holy sorrow, mourning. This is the foundation for the way in, and if this is ever lost, mysticism becomes false mysticism. And spirituality becomes false spirituality, and spirituality becomes spiritual ego. And so I'm grateful to have come back down into that tonight, if I did a little. Because for the last couple of years, if I went up, they've immediately dropped me down into it. And I didn't find it. And I didn't like not finding it. I didn't like that space. Now, I'm not convinced it was a mistake. I think the Holy Spirit was showing me something I don't know yet. It's okay. But I didn't like it. I didn't like not coming home to, who cares about anything? I'm nobody. You know, who cares about this high place God has taken me to where I could see the light? Who cares? I'm nobody. So, since I didn't wait, see if you can hear echoes of this here. These aren't the same system. They don't lead to the same place, but there are similarities. Think of the valley as being a low place. The valley is low. The valley spirit never dies. It is the woman, primal mother. Her gateway is the root of heaven and earth. It is like a veil barely seen. Use it, it will never fail. This one I'm just reading a section of it. Give up learning and put an end to your troubles. In spring, some go to the park and climb the terrace, but I alone am drifting, not knowing where I am. Like a newborn babe before it learns to smile, I am alone, without a place to go. Others have more than they need, but I alone have nothing. I am a fool. I am confused. Others are clear and bright, but I alone am dull and stupid. I drift like the waves of the sea, without direction, like the restless wind. Everyone else is busy, but I alone am aimless and depressed. I am different. I am nourished by the Great Mother. I think that's my favorite segment in all of the Tao. That one. And one more. It's the same teaching. Cousin to the Beatitudes, the first three cousins. Know the strength of man, but keep a woman's care. Know the white, but keep the black. Know honor, but keep humility. Be the valley of the universe. Being the valley of the universe, ever true and resourceful, return to the state of the uncarved block. A great tailor cuts little. I think that's enough. Don't want to read. I'm going to open it up for everybody. Okay, so we'll close up here in a minute. I want to say just a couple of little things, but reading Paul has been wonderful, but Paul doesn't typically make me feel the deep or the dark. I miss John for that. Don't worry, we're not going back yet. And Paul has everything, and there's nothing wrong with Paul. It's just his writing style. But if you notice that language Lao Tzu used, know the male but keep to the female. That's the same as saying know up but keep to down. And he said know the light but keep to the dark. So this group is going to go up. It's going up. I'm going up for sure. This last stint was the longest and most intense I've had so far. Great, I love it, it's wonderful, but so what? If you look at I don't remember who drew this map. It's a Christian map. It's a building, and there's pillars, and there's a foundation, and there's a roof, and and they label everything as one of the virtues, or one of the things you need for the whole structure to work. And we know that Christianity is love. We know that if you really had to define it, you'd say it's love for sure. It's love. It's life-giving love. It's participation in God's love. That's the whole end to which Christianity leads. But in that map, the whole structure is built on this foundation, which is humility. Humility. So we never want to lose that, and humility is comfortable being imperfect. Humility finds a deep peace in it. Humility doesn't mind, a person who has humility, when they see that they're unworthy of infinity, they find peace in that rather than discomfort. When a person who has humility discovers great disorder, rediscovers great disorder, re-experiences great disorder, you know how that is. If the person has humility, they immediately go, oh yes, that's me. That's okay. Not okay in the sense I don't want to change it. Not okay that I won't mourn it. But that squirmy feeling you can only have if it's scandalous that you've fallen. When you just don't want to be that person at all because you've already decided you're past it. Humility just says, oh yes, I remember, and finds the dark, the valley spirit, the female, the low, the dim, the confused, and is comforted there. That's why Lao Tzu says, I am all those things. He says, I am different. I am nourished by the Great Mother. That's what he's talking about. He's talking about holy sorrow. He's talking about being low and staying low. And we're going to go up, and there's going to be miracles, and Pentecost, all of that is going to come. But it can only give true fruit to the degree that the low is kept. That it doesn't become an ego project. We don't become somebody.